Today we're looking at two major changes in the federal government. First, we have hundreds of government websites disappearing. And then we have a large federal agency that's losing so many people, they've announced they might not have to do any layoffs this year. How will this affect you? The General Services Administration, or GSA, led a review of over 7,000 websites managed by 24 large federal agencies. The result is they're planning to decommission 332 government websites. It makes up 5% of the total government websites, and it seems like a small number, but if you consider that each and every month, government websites, they receive billions of visitors, billions of clicks, this could really impact a lot of people. Now, GSA, they're first targeting something called low-hanging fruit. And don't they love to target the low-hanging fruit because it takes a lot less effort than the high-hanging fruit. We saw this approach when it comes to the probationary purge, when it comes to firing federal workers, always targeting the low-hanging fruit. But a good chunk of what we're dealing with here, it's agency blogs, outdated forms, photo galleries, things like that. Old stuff that can be put to rest, like older initiatives. But there's some of these cuts, specifically the State Department, that's going to have a lot of people upset. First example is the SBA. They're cutting over half of their websites. Sites like the old pandemic aid programs, consolidating small business certification pages into a single hub called My SBA Certifications. Another big move comes from the HHS. So they're taking down about 7% of their web pages. One of those is vaccines.cdc.gov. It's a site that tracks the CDC's state-by-state investments in immunization goals to prevent death and disability from vaccine-preventable diseases. And this is really because the site doesn't get maintained. So oftentimes you'll see with government sites, you have an individual that's the administrator. They're responsible for making the updates. Well, that person transfers out, or maybe they retire, or maybe they quit. They're no longer there. So nobody takes on that responsibility. Now, they're also cutting 18 web pages from a site called cancer.gov. But the main site, that should stay active. Over at the State Department, they've already cut a website for the U.S. Office of Palestinian Affairs. That office was completely eliminated in May. The site now redirects to the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem's page. This is probably because of the stance that President Trump has towards Israel. We've all known since 2017 where he stands when it comes to Israel. He's very pro-Israel. Some people, they don't understand why. Why is this? Well, there's several reasons. One, the evangelical Christian support. Two, they're an ally in the Middle East. Three, Trump's son-in-law and senior advisor is Jewish. And four, billionaire donors from pro-Israel advocates. Add all of that to the recent opposition with Iran. Now also, State Department, their OIG, the Office of Inspector General, they've decided to close some pages. They're going to reconsolidate a lot of their websites. Over at FEMA, they're cutting the National Flood Insurance Program website and the Agriculture Department's Spanish language for service site. In case you missed it, on March 1st, President Trump signed an executive order that made English the official language of this country. So that reversed what Bill Clinton did during his presidency, where it stated that agencies had to provide services to individuals that had limited English proficiency. So that's out the window. Now, agencies can still decide to make material in different languages, but it's no longer mandated as it once was. Because this is an executive order, that means the next president can easily change it. So this is not something that is definitely going to be permanent. It also marks the first time that any sitting U.S. president has made an official language in this country. Entonces ahora todo necesita estar en inglés. Interestingly, the biggest agency with the absolute most websites, the Department of Defense, well, they're only cutting one website. And that's for the Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction. We also have agencies like the Department of Treasury and the Social Security Administration. They have yet to flag any websites for elimination. Now, in theory, all of this is good. It saves a lot of money because the information out there on the internet, that needs to be on a server somewhere. It's in the cloud. It's taking up space. It's using money. So if you can reduce it, especially if it's outdated information, you can free up space, you can free up money. And I think when it comes to different languages, today, whatever internet browser you're using, Chrome or Explorer, I don't know what you're using, but there's typically an add-on feature where you can change the content to match any language that you would like. So it shouldn't be a giant barrier. Now, all of this is happening because of a 2023 OMB directive, part of the 21st Century Integrated Digital Experience Act, which passed in 2018. This law told agencies to modernize their websites to cut out redundancies, anything that was duplicative or that was confusing for the public to access, to tighten it up, to clean up those websites. So here we are 7 years later. Thankfully, something's getting done. It's progress. It's a little late, but it's still progress. And I would add this as well. If you were to come down to Washington, D.C. today, step foot in any federal agency, any headquarter building, and just go to your nearest cubicle, jump on that computer. If they would give you access to that computer and you can go to the shared drive, check out the shared drive. Or maybe the SharePoint. Go to the SharePoint, look through there. I guarantee you there's a high probability that it is a mess. It's completely disorganized. You will have folders there with ex-employees, the name. It could be Susan Baker. That's the name of the folder. Susan hasn't worked here in a decade, but still we have a folder with Susan's name for some reason because somebody couldn't figure it out and name it appropriately. And then as you're looking through there, as you're browsing, you're going to come across the dreaded miscellaneous folder. What's in there? Anything and everything is in there. You're going to get in there, you're going to get lost. The whole day is going to be gone because you're swimming through the miscellaneous folder because, there's like 3 or 4 of those for every system, for every function, for every office. It's a mess. It needs to be tightened up. Now let's pivot to the Department of Veteran Affairs. The exciting news here is there's probably not going to be a RIF, reduction in force, widespread layoffs. They were talking about, earlier this year, 80,000 people might have to leave the agency. Some numbers were 83,000 people were going to have to leave. But now they've adjusted their sights. It looks like that at the end of September, they're going to be very close to 30,000. And that number, 30,000, that might be sufficient for now. Back in March, VA Secretary Doug Collins announced a goal to cut 15% of the workforce. Now, obviously 30K is not 80K, but how did they get to the 30K number? Well, the way they got there was through VSIP, which is your buyout, your voluntary separation incentive payment, early retirement, which is VERA, the deferred resignation program, and then the big one, attrition. That's the way it should have been this entire time. Attrition. That's what Bill Clinton used. That's what President Reagan used. Attrition. That should have been the gold standard to begin with. VA is just now figuring it out, so good for them. Secretary Collins said that the VA is headed in the right direction, both in terms of staff levels and customer service. A department-wide RIF is off the table. The VA continues to say that doctors, nurses, critical positions that are facing the veteran. If you are a veteran-facing position, then you're exempt. You have nothing to worry about. Also, when it comes to the hiring freeze that we're currently under, the VA has exempted about 3/4 of their positions. There's like over 300,000 positions that they have exempted. In fact, if you go on usajobs.gov right now, they are hiring. They are hiring in force. Over 3,800 jobs are listed here. Many of them are open to the public. And it's not just medical roles, but you'll also find support roles in here too. The VA insists that by losing 30,000 people in the course of 6-7 months, it will not have a negative impact towards the veteran whatsoever. So this is kind of hard to wrap your head around. I worked at the VA for a period of time, and every single person that I interacted with, in some way, in some fashion, their work impacted the veteran community. So how are there 30,000 people within this agency that their work does not impact the veteran community? By getting rid of them, it makes absolutely no difference to the veterans. So are you telling me that veterans now they will not have to wait 1 minute longer to get an appointment scheduled. Because that's what we're talking about here, right? There's no change. There's no negative consequence to the veteran community. This is something that we're really going to have to wait and see how it unfolds. How did you hire 30,000 people that make no difference to veterans? So these two stories share a common theme. First, you have eliminating redundant, outdated websites, and then you have VA job reductions. All of this speaks to one word. Really what we're trying to achieve here is efficiency. And efficiency done right, like with the VA, with attrition being the golden standard, let's use attrition to make the workforce smaller. Let's not traumatize or demonize federal workers. But efficiency can come at a cost. When you cut certain websites, you have to be very careful because you're pulling down government data that some people might be interested. They might be trying to grab that data. They might be trying to grab it to conduct studies, to understand what the government has been doing in the past. So you're at risk at doing that. Same thing with the VA. Even if you're trying to protect nurses and doctors, you're impacting the supporting roles. The VA, they provide services and benefits to millions, not just 2 or 3 million, something like 8 or 9 million. So as you're whittling away at that agency, it could have huge consequences. A 2023 VA report already noted that wait times for some services average 20 to 30 days. Could these cuts make that worse? Okay, if you're a current federal worker or you know one and you're trying to get out of the federal government, you want to pivot and make that transition, but you want to still be in the government, not the federal level, but maybe the state or maybe local government. There's a career expo happening really soon and you're invited. It's free. I'm going to try to leave a link down in the description below. You sign up, and I think it takes place July 24th, which is a Thursday, starting at 10 a.m. All right, you go there, you can have a direct conversation, you can share your resume and start making steps to getting a local government job. So check that out if you're interested. Stay updated by signing up to the free newsletter down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.